Hey there, welcome to day 29 of our Get Up and Go challenge. Yes, do pass go, do collect $200 or $2,000 or $2 million, whatever works for you, but create the life that you want by getting up and taking action. That's what this challenge is all about. So today I want to talk about and spend a couple of minutes talking about frameworks. Now, whether you know it or not, we are surrounded by and we operate off frameworks all the time. Another word for frameworks, by the way, is process, system, procedure, things that come from my nerdy engineering world. But we're always dealing in frameworks. We, as humans, like to overcomplicate things, but we also know that the way to be successful at anything that we want is to find ways to simplify things. And we simplify things by using frameworks. We've talked about a lot of frameworks over the last 29 days, and we're going to talk about a few more as we go through the end of the challenge over the next couple of days. But one of the main frameworks we've talked about, of course, is the SOAP framework, the story, options, action, progress. That framework, we use that to help us make to make the best choice and decision and actions and moves whenever we're faced with a challenge or a change in our lives. This is a framework, one of my favorite: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution, and then added communication and confidence this time through the Get Up and Go challenge. It's a framework, a way of looking at the different areas and aspects of our life to simplify it and make sense of it. If I think about all the things in my life that I want to change or I want to improve or I want to have different, and I don't have a framework like this to break them down into categories, I instantly get overwhelmed and I end up doing nothing because I'm overwhelmed with all the possible things that I could do. But if every year, and I do this every year, I set my goals according to these categories. I have a big, hairy, audacious goal for each of these categories, and then I have it broken down by a shorter term, like a 5-year or 10-year goal, then a 1-year goal, and then the 1-year goals broken down into smaller and smaller pieces, up to and including what can I do, what action can I do every single day. And sometimes I'm just working on something, how to have a weekly goal, but a lot of these I break down into what can I do every day, what ritual or routine or habit or automatic thing can I do to positively impact and make sure I'm making progress toward these different categories and aspects of my life. But if I don't have this framework, it becomes overwhelming and all of my efforts seem to be for naught. All of the tools that we've talked about over the course of these 30 days are examples of frameworks, ways of taking information, sometimes complex data and information, and making sense of it. For example, the Head, Heart, and Intuition decision-making tool. That is a framework. Each of the decision-making tools we learned is a framework, a way of making sense of things. One of the things I looked up for one of the previous challenges was 10 frameworks of life design. How do we design our life so that it works for us? And really, it's just 10 steps to make your life work. For example, number 1, radically accept where you are in the journey. Sound familiar? What's my current story? Number 2, forget finding your passion. Seek to understand yourself. That's kind of what I am personally doing this year with our annual challenge. Do one thing every day that centers you. Number 3, define what matters to you. What matters to you is all that matters. You have to decide and determine what's important to you, what your priorities are. Kind of sounds like we did that when we looked at these different areas and aspects of our life and we prioritized them. Remember? We put them in the order of what's most important to us. Number 4, brainstorm many possible pathways. Oh, does that sound like something we do in the O of our SOAP framework? Number 5, build a network through empathizing and learning from others. So model other people. That in and of itself is a framework, right? How can I learn from others so I don't have to figure everything out by myself? Number 6, design your story and your personal brand. So we talk about that in SOAP, right? We talk about what's our story now and what do we want our story to be. Deciding what we want our story to be is creating our brand, creating our story, creating and showing up as we uniquely are. Number 7, try it out. Let ideas ruminate and assumptions in the real world. Test them out. Try them out. Hey, I want to show up as I uniquely am. How's that going to work out for me? Well, I've been practicing it for a couple of years, and plus and minus. Some people like it. Some people hate it. And that's okay because it's just about me figuring out who I am and how I make my life work. Number 8, Be flexible, adapt your plan based on what you learn. So go about your life learning things, take some action, make a decision of your options, take some action in our SOAP framework, and then test and tweak and see how it works. If it didn't work perfectly the first time or you think you can get better results, tweak exactly what you're doing and then see what the results are. Number 9, focus on who you are. I can't read my own writing. Focus on who you are into not one state future career. I have no idea what this says, but it says focus on who you are. Oh, focus who you are evolving into, not on one particular state. So maybe, what would be an example of that? I guess focus on becoming is a good way of saying that. Focus on becoming who you are and not just who you are in this very instant. Who you are right now, you might be a totally different person tomorrow. It's up to you. And number 10, believe your life is worth designing. Believe you are worth creating the life of your dreams, creating the life that you want. So that's an example of a life framework. We can have frameworks for everything that we do, everything that we say. Believe it or not, we all have go-to processes, go-to ways of responding to things. If somebody says something mean to you on social media or says something mean to your face, you have an automatic go-to way of responding. That is not who you are. That is just a way you've been conditioned to respond. That's your go-to framework that you apply. But we have the power and the ability to change our framework at any time. And one of the best ways to do that is to use other frameworks like the SOAP framework to change your framework. I would love to know, let's talk about a couple other frameworks before I go and ask you your assignment today. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's a framework for investigating, and it's a journalistic framework for getting more information about a subject. Plan, do, check, act is a framework I learned in college and carried throughout my quality control leadership career in corporate America, because it's the framework that it's called the quality framework that you're supposed to use to look at all problems, look at all situations, and it's the strategy that you use in dealing with all quality problems and quality challenges and quality situations, or determining that you get the right quality for your customer. There's customer frameworks, there's all kinds of frameworks. Things like the value ladder in marketing are a framework. You know, how do you provide value to your customers? Customer service, every function in every business, every function in our life has a framework. So I'm challenging you today to go out and look for and notice consciously the frameworks that are all around you. You'll see them in television, you'll see them in movies, you'll see them in news broadcasts if you watch them. You'll see them all around you if you look for them. What is the step-by-step process that someone is following to get a result? That is a framework. A process is a framework. So share in the comments below your favorite framework. I guess my current favorite framework is, of course, the SOAP framework, but I have frameworks that I use every day. Every habit I have, every tool I use, every tool we've talked about, and even the ones we haven't talked about. The lifeline exercise, that's a framework, a way of referencing and looking at our life in a way that simplifies it so we can look for connections and understanding and meaning in what we're looking at. That's it. Go out, have an awesome day. I will be with you tomorrow for, I'm not going to tell you what we're doing tomorrow, a surprise on day 30 of our Get Up and Go Challenge. And we'll, of course, have a day 31. So be here the next couple of days. I will see you tomorrow. Have an absolutely amazing day. Bye. Look for frameworks.